So it's Danny Smith that gets the pole position with Ray Harris alongside him. Then on row number 2, it's Steve Burrows and Dave York with Pat Keeley and Danny Hunn on the third row. Malcolm Blackman then on row 4 alongside Colin Smith with Philip Spinks and Nigel Beardsmore rounding out the top 10. Mick Robertson and Philip Young are on the 6th row of the grid, ahead of Warren Farrisman and Ruben Taylor, and then John Price and John Stewart. And then a few that had issues in that race: Chris Ayling, Lewis Smith brought out a safety car after he went off up at Clearways Corner into the gravel in his Mercedes, and Tom Hutchins will line up at the tail end of the grid. So yeah, interesting first race earlier on that was it took place in damp but drying conditions, and that gave a bit of a headache really for a lot of the drivers, particularly on tyre choice. It's something that we didn't realise at the time, but the two cars that were essentially fighting for the victory throughout the bulk of that race, Malcolm Blackman's Vauxhall Tigra and Danny Hunn in the Ford Fiesta ST, they were on different tyres. So the Tigra was on slicks, the Ford was on wets, and part of the track was wetter than the other. So every time they went through clearways, the Ford excelled and could literally run rings around the Tigra, driving right round the outside of it on a couple of occasions. But then it came out onto the straight and it was dry again and it couldn't get the traction, so the Tigra would get back through. And so Danny Hunn did actually get the lead coming out of the final turn on the last lap, only for Malcolm Blackman to blast back ahead of him and actually beat him back to the line by 7/10 of a second. And Pat Keeley and Dave York, who were third and fourth, very nearly got past Danny Hunn as well. So this time around, I think tyre choice is a little bit less complex. It's going to be wet tyres for all of them. It's too wet out there for the slick tyres, and just because it's so cold out there, I don't think we're going to see the track conditions improve much throughout the rest of the evening. So likely to be wet, or at least damp from here on in, and that's if we don't get any further rain showers, which is always a bit of a possibility. The grid for this one then, it's the top 7 finishes from race 1 that were reversed. So pole position goes to Danny Smith there, you can see in the bronze and red Vauxhall Tigra, and alongside him the Ginetta of Ray Harris. So Ray Harris has scored 5 race victories this year in the Intermarque Silhouette Series, and that has now been matched by Malcolm Blackman. So this is the final race of the season, and an opportunity maybe for one of them to break that tie break. Of course, Blackman won already today, but the Ginetta of Ray Harris starting a bit further up the order this time and has the slightly more beneficial track position. So that Ginetta, which had issues in qualifying, don't know what they were exactly, but it didn't complete as many laps in qualifying as most of the other cars did, and so Ray Harris started deep in the field. He started down in 11th on the grid, fought his way nicely up into 6th by the end, but probably would have hoped for a little bit more, to be honest, and ended up having to settle for that 6th position. But now on the front row, can Ray Harris get back to his winning form? Ray got his first race victory here at Brands Hatch, actually, in this equivalent race. In fact, both of the times that we've raced at Brands Hatch this year, he has won the second race of the day. So the Ginetta, in theory, should be the favourite to win this one. Got a Mercedes in the pit lane there, look, which is not where it's supposed to be. That is for sure. That's the 59 car of Nigel Beardsmore, I'm afraid, which should be lining up 10th on the grid, but clearly won't be, sliding their way out onto their first of 2 green flag laps that they're going to be given here because of the change of conditions from the first race. So yeah, as I said, Ray Harris then looking for that breakthrough 6th victory of the season. He won a race at Linden Hill, the second race of the weekend. He won the second race at Brands Hatch. Then he had another victory in the second race at Brands Hatch at the Speedfest meeting. Then he won the second race at Silverstone. The only time he's won the first race of the weekend was last time out at Snetterton, and he then went on to win both of the races at Snetterton. One of only 2 drivers to do that. No, one of 3 drivers to do that this year, actually win both races in a day. Bankman Smith did it at Cadwell Park, and Malcolm Blackman did it at Mallory Park in the middle part of the season. So Ray Harris will be trying to prevent that from happening. So we'll be trying to make sure that happens for him, I should say. Malcolm Blackman will be trying to stop that happening. They both have very, very good seasons. Harris has had the better season with a podium finish for Ray Harris in every single race this year, with only 2 exceptions. One of them was this morning's race, where he, of course, finished 6th. The other one was a non-finish at Cadwell Park, but he's finished in the top 3 in every single other race of the season. So 2 races at Linden Hill, 4 or 5 races now in total at Brands Hatch, as well as a meeting at Mallory Park, Cadwell Park and Silverstone. He's been in the top 3 every time in that Ginetta, and now he's starting from where he should be, really, up towards the front of the grid for this one. Second green flag lap just getting underway now. You can see another one of the Mercedes there, a little bit further down the order. These National Hot Rod-esque cars, which look fantastic. They sound pretty good as well, but they are known for producing terrific racing, and Brands Hatch is a very, very popular venue for these cars. They're regulars here. As I said, this is their 3rd meeting of the season on the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, and the drivers therefore know the place really well. And we'll be looking to try and capitalise on that to end the season with a good result. Get a look at the orange Vauxhall, orange Mazda RX-8, I should say there. That's Tom Hutchins, who was, I believe, a non-starter, or certainly a very early retirement from race 1. Watch for him to come through from the back of the grid then, the 129 car, which 129 has previously been driven by Ricky Hunn earlier on this season, and has yet to score a podium finish.
As I say, he's won 6 times so far. That number 5 car, that is the...
So lights out on the safety car then. We're about to get our final race of the season underway for the Avon Tyres Intermarque Silhouettes. The pole position held by the gold and red of Danny Smith, alongside him the blue Ginetta of Ray Harris, looking to try and take a 6th race victory of 2021. The start will be important here in the wet. Who's going to get into Paddock Hill Bend first? Well, Ray Harris has decided he's going now, but he's not the pole sitter. He doesn't get to decide that. The cars accelerate when the lights go out, and that's not going to happen for quite some time. And now Danny Smith has sort of disappeared. It's a bit of a messy start, this, isn't it, really? Smith's going to arrive at the start-finish line a lot earlier than he should. That was very messy indeed. I wonder if we might get some penalties for that. Anyway, the race gets underway, and in the end, Smith will get to Paddock Hill Bend with the lead, not by a huge margin anyway, so probably didn't really gain much from that. Squirms his way down through the dip there, bit of standing water at the bottom of the hill at Paddock Hill Bend, but it is going to be Danny Smith that leads the way, but on the inside of everybody there comes, was that Steve Burrows? I think it was, in the 3rd place Vauxhall Tigra. He certainly gets 2nd, and yes, the number 16 car is now challenging for the race lead. Steve Burrows to the outside into Graham Hill Bend, and he will go through into 1st position. So from 3rd on the grid to 1st goes Steve Burrows. Sideways and around goes the 491. Big spin in the middle of the pack. Thankfully not connected by anyone. That was Colin Smith going around, and he'll select 1st gear and carry on pretty much at the very back of the field. So Burrows leads the way, sideways there for the Ford of Danny Hunn, that came up just short of the victory in race number 1. I noticed he was side by side again with Malcolm Blackman, as he was for much of the race earlier on this morning. Side by side now for 3rd position. The Ginetta of Ray Harris is just struggling, isn't it, this weekend? Doesn't seem to have the raw speed that we've seen from it in the past, and on the inside of him now goes the 196 of Dave York. Dave York going for 3rd place into Paddock Hill Bend. Now that normally would be the place to be, but in the wet sometimes you can carry more speed around the high, wide and handsome line, and indeed that's exactly what the Ginetta does. It holds on to that 3rd place for now. They're being caught by Malcolm Blackman in the red Tigra. They're all sort of concertinaing together there on the apex at Druids Corner. This is all happening though some well, now over 2 seconds adrift of the race leader Steve Burrows, who's absolutely checked out from this lot. It is still going to be Danny Smith in 2nd, side by side for 3rd. Bit of a rub on the exit of the corner, and over the curb the 196 of Dave York gets sideways, so Ray Harris comes back at him now on the inside into Surtees Corner. And now the Ford look of Danny Hunn is ahead of Malcolm Blackman, so the yellow and red Ford Fiesta is up a position into 5th place now. And now that might become 4th, because he's up the inside of Ray Harris as well. So Danny Hunn in these full wet conditions looking a little bit better even than he did in the damp race earlier on. He has cleared the Ginetta into 4th place, so the Ford gaining 2 places on that lap, but the Ginetta is good in a straight line. We saw in the earlier race that the Ford is probably the slowest car out there in the speed traps, and that seems to be the case again there. But can he outbrake the Ginetta around the outside of Paddock? They almost leant on each other a bit there, I thought. Did they manage to get away with it? Looks like they did, but the Ginetta has gone back through, and here comes Blackman as well up the inside. So Blackman up the inside of the Ford, and he might go past the Ginetta as well. Ray Harris ran so wide at Druids that he opened the door beautifully for Malcolm Blackman, and now the Ginetta's out on the curb as well, gets a bit sideways, tries to come back up the inside. Ray Harris for 4th position, this is, into Graham Hill Bend, slithers through. They're both delaying each other now, and keep an eye on Danny Hunt to get the run on the pair of them down the Cooper Straight. Terrific racing this. It's all happening a long way behind the race leader, but this lot don't care. They're all falling over each other to be the best of the rest and try and chase after Steve Burrows. Because they're delaying each other so much when they're battling, they're sort of handing this race to him on a plate. Up through clearways. Oh, bit of a tap in the tail there from Danny Hunt, who's a bit impatient to find a way past Ray Harris there. He will get up the inside, but again, that Ginetta's going to have the advantage once they get out onto the main straight. He does indeed. Look at that. Look at the extra straight line speed the Ginetta has. That low slung aerodynamic shape of the Ginetta G40 body kit. On and off the brakes a bit there into paddock. He sails in a bit too fast that time, Ray Harris, and that's going to slow down on the exit a touch. Ford tries to get up the inside again into Druid's corner, and Ray again struggling to get the car stopped. He's off the road completely this time, and so back into fourth position goes Danny Hunt. Fifth place, excuse me. So Danny Smith then, the silver 490 Tigra, ahead of the gold one of Dave York in third, fourth Blackman, fifth Hunt, sixth Ray Harris, seventh then is the black Tigra of Philip Spinks. He's just ahead of the first of the Mercedes, Lewis Smith. So Lewis Smith has come through from 18th on the grid, the white car at the back of that shot, into the top 10 already. 8th place to be precise, and challenging for 7th as they go towards the corner where he went off in the earlier race. Further back, still some good battling going on in the midfield. We've got one of the Peugeots there, the 49 car, that is Ruben Taylor, just ahead of the VW Corrado, number 52. So Taylor's lost a couple of places on this lap actually, because he was several positions ahead of Robertson at the start of the lap, and they're going to end it almost side by side. Across the line they go. VW not quite as quick in a straight line though. But, again, you can see the difference that the different body kits can make actually. If you've got a slightly bigger, bulkier body kit, it looks spectacular, but it sometimes means that it's a bit draggier. It doesn't carry the speed down the straights quite as well. Into Druids they go. Now the Corrado dives through on the inside. Nice move made. Back to the front runners though, and that is a fading gold and red Tigra, isn't it? Then I think that is going to be Dave York, not Dave York. That is the Danny Smith car slipping down the order, having started the lap in third. They've all gone past him now, and look at this, Blackman and Hunt are side by side again. Blackman sideways on the outside line at Clark Curve. As soon as the track straightens up, that's when the Ford will struggle, and so the Tigra manages to go through. So Blackman into third, Hunt fourth, Danny Smith down to fifth position. The leader, don't forget about him, is Steve Burrows. He is 6.9 seconds up the road and continuing to lap quite a bit quicker than anybody else. He was 4 tenths faster than Dave York in second place on that last lap. And as this battle behind continues, they're not likely to catch him really, are they? Steve Burrows dominating this. That start was crucial, wasn't it? Coming from third on the grid to lead by the end of the opening lap, and hasn't really looked back since. Still not even halfway through the race though. If we were to get a safety car, that could change the dynamic completely. Here comes the Ford again of Dave Hunt. Now this time Danny Hunt, he might be up the inside into Surtees. He is. He tries to force the issue. Malcolm Blackman wanted to close the door there, but wasn't able to do it. Didn't need to in the end. He carries the speed around the grippier outside line, and Hunt will now once again try to get to the inside through clearways. We've been here before, haven't we? The Ford is so good through the corners, but doesn't have the straight line speed performance to make the move stick. Leader sets another new fastest lap, 101.5, couple of tenths quicker than York in second place, as we check in now with John Stewart in the green Mercedes there. John Stewart has one podium finish to his credit this year, a second place in the second race at Silverstone, but that was a race that only 4 people finished, so podium, yes, but he'd love to do it in a slightly more competitive race than that, I'm sure. There goes the 156 car through. 6 is one of the many Tigras that we've got entered. Pat Keeley not having quite such a good race in this one, is he? 9th place at the moment, having finished well in the early one. He was on the podium. 3rd place was Pat in race number 1. Ray Harris goes through, continuing to drop places, I'm afraid. Lewis Smith got past him on the last lap. Lewis Smith is the fastest man on the track, actually. Lewis Smith just did a 1 minute 1.425, fractionally, and I mean less than 100th of a second faster than the leader. Oh, that's not ideal. That windscreen wiper is doing absolutely nothing to clear the water off the front of the, is that the number 14 car? It is. That is Philip Spinks, whose visibility is not going to be helped by the windscreen wiper. Sorry, there's just something quite comical of it. It's like it's waving at the crowd as it goes through the windscreen wiper, waving around from side to side and doing absolutely nothing to help clear the windscreen. So Philip Spinks, I'm not entirely sure how that can happen. It obviously wasn't attached properly in the first place. You can see that they're attached to the top of the windscreen rather than the bottom, as would be traditional, and that seems to me to be a bit of a design flaw, but there you go. Add that to the list of things I've never seen before as well. 21 coming through, that's Philip Young in the Mitsubishi Colt. Nice to get a bit of variety out there. It's not all Vauxhall Tigras and Mercedes SLKs. The Corrado running a bit wide, and I think Robinson does a good job there to keep the car on the track. Now, remember how I said that Lewis Smith was the fastest driver on the track? He then had a really bad lap. So Lewis Smith must have gone off on the previous lap because he's dropped back behind Ray Harris and behind Philip Spinks in the car with the less than ideal windscreen wiper function. So Lewis Smith back down to 8 now, and then immediately sets another new fastest lap. So he went off and then set another really fast lap next time around. Not sure what happened to him though. In the meantime, there goes Spinks, who is also leading the Seniors Cup for over 45-year-olds, and there behind him, the car I was just talking about, the white Mercedes of Lewis Smith, which has been off somewhere a lap or so ago, but he's the fastest car on track. Here comes the Corrado back on the inside of the Mitsubishi, then Robinson on Young. Robinson's got the inside line, but can he complete the manoeuvre on the run down into Graham Hill Bend? So nearly contact there between the two of them as they drop down the hill, but the Corrado this time will go through, turns in nice and early as well to cover off any attempt at reclaiming the place there for Philip Young. So this is the fight for well, technically speaking, 9th, 10th and 11th places, because Pat Keeley, look, in the turquoise and grey Tigra, is in 9th position. Steve Burrows has got 5 minutes and 20 seconds left of this race before he comes through to claim the race victory in the number 16 car. For Steve, it would be his 2nd victory of the year and his 4th appearance on the podium. Here comes the Corrado, though, really going quickly now. The second half of the race is Robertson, and he's going to clear Pat Keeley now. There's the number 14 Tigra, windscreen wiper still on, still sticking up into the air like a little antennae. Lewis Smith is back ahead of him now, by the way, to 4th position, as Pat Keeley's got Robertson's Corrado up the inside. This is where Robertson got past Young a lap ago, and maybe a little bit of touchy-feely stuff there as they came off the corner, but he's gone through anyway. Corrado working really, really well at this stage of the race, but you can see now he's got quite a gap to catch Philip Spinks. In fact, he gets very sideways out of Graham Hill Bend, and Pat Keeley might just try and come back at him now. To clear ways goes the Tigra of Spinks. Lead gap still sitting at 7.1 seconds, by the way, although on that lap Dave York in second was 7/10 faster than the leader. It wasn't a particularly quick lap for Burrows, and yet York, Blackman and Hood, second and fourth, all set personal best laps. There is Danny Hood, 4th position. Now a bit of traffic up the road I can see, that might just be delaying Malcolm Blackman slightly. There went the leader. The grey car in second is Dave York. The red car with the white bonnet in third is Malcolm Blackman. The yellow and red Ford right behind Danny Hood in 4th place. And this is the battle of the day, really. They were fighting for the victory in race 1. They're fighting for the bottom step of the podium in race number 2. In amongst the back markers, though, things are about to get a little bit more challenging. I think Warren Farrisman doing his best to get out of the way. We didn't really see this situation develop in race 1 because they had spent much of the race behind the safety car, so the leaders never did catch the back of the pack once racing resumed. This time, though, they are having to deal with some of the lap traffic, which of course they're having their own race. They're trying to mind their own business out there and not get in the way, but in the wet especially, you don't really want to deviate from the ideal line, so pulling out of the way isn't necessarily such an option. So out of Druids Corner goes Malcolm Blackman, on to 3rd place. His lap times are very similar, almost identical in fact, to Dave York ahead of him, so he's not really catching York. Hood was some 5/10 faster than Blackman on that lap though. Background you've got the blimey, sideways for both of them. Brilliant shot that as they came through Surtees. Out of clearways again, the Ford gets the inside, just can't carry the speed off it. I know they're telling us it's a Ford Fiesta body kit. It looks more like a Ford Focus to me, but anyway, whatever it is, it's a very, very good looking car. Do with a bit more poke in a straight line, but more than makes up for that through the corners. slightly slow lap that from the leader, Steve Burrows. Heard a couple of drivers saying before race one that these cars do have a tendency to overheat their tyres, the wet tyres especially, because they're grooved. It's a softer compound as well. Got to manage those tyre temperatures. May be cold out there, but the tyres still get up to an incredibly high temperature, and the more you slide around on them, the worse that gets. So I wonder if Burrows pushed those tyres a bit too hard in the early stages, maybe. Blackman setting a personal best lap there. So did Ray Harris. He's back into 6th place now, by the way. He's still ahead of Lewis Smith. So Lewis Smith never has really been able to fully recover from that off that he had a few laps ago. Despite holding the fastest lap, said a while ago, he's been matching that pace, but he's not been gaining many more places. Into clearways. There is Ray Harris and Lewis Smith. In fact, they're together now. Lewis Smith moving in to try and take 6th place away from Harris. Carries visibly more speed off clearways. Ducks to the inside through Clark Curve. The Ginetta preferring the high line there. Got to stay off the normal racing line where all that slippery rubber has been laid down. And it worked, didn't it? Carried a lot more speed down the pit straight. That Ginetta is quick in the speed traps. They've gone to 6th now as they go on to what should be their penultimate lap. Did Lewis Smith run wide then through Paddock Hill Bend? Just caught the end of that. It looked like he dropped back again out of the first corner. Set fastest lap last time around, did Lewis Smith. Another new fastest lap for him, 101.1. And he set a fastest lap earlier on and then immediately threw it into the scenery, didn't he? You can see the gravel rash on the front of the car there. Like Ray Harris had a bit of a slide in the Ginetta there out of Graham Hill Bend, but not enough to allow Lewis Smith on the inside. Leaders onto the final lap of the race then. Steve Burrows just got across the start finish line, 5 seconds clear now of Dave York in 2nd place, with Malcolm Blackman 2.8 seconds further back in 3rd. Dave Hunt's actually dropped back from him now to the tune of nearly a second, so I think the positions at the head of the field are pretty set. This one isn't though. Lewis Smith on the inside of Ray Harris. Look at the way the front splitter was bouncing around on that Mercedes from his trip through the gravel trap. Of course it will have possibly sustained damage when he went off in race 1 as well and got beached in the gravel at clearways. It didn't slow it down though. He's gone through, slides the Mercedes into Druids Corner, and Ray Harris drops down to 7th place. Disappointing way to round out the season for Ray Harris, but neither he or Malcolm Blackman are going to get to 6 race victories this year, because the final race of the season for the Avon Tyres Intermarque Silhouette Series will go the way of this man. Steve Burrows has led every single lap of the race, having started 3rd. He got to the lead before the end of lap 1 and has never looked back. He's been able to back the pace off considerably in the final few laps, and he will still come home with a comfortable margin of victory. Steve Burrows wins then, and wins for the final time in 2021 in the Avon Tyres Intermarque Silhouette. 2nd goes to Dave York, 3rd Malcolm Blackman, 4th Danny Hunn. Those 3 actually covered by only 2 seconds at the flag. Then we are getting a notification that Danny Smith has been given a penalty of 10 seconds. I'm guessing that's for track limits then, so that will actually promote Lewis Smith into 5th and Ray Harris into 6th. Danny Smith 7th then, and then in 8th position overall we're going to have our Senior Cup winner, despite the very dodgy windscreen wiper. Philip Spinks comes through to claim the Seniors Cup victory in 8th position. 9th place overall, by the way, the Corrado of Mick Robertson. He was 2nd in the seniors and 3rd for the 175 of John Stewart. So another entertaining race then, although Steve Burrows making it look remarkably easy at the head of the field. Steve claiming the race victory in the number 16 Vauxhall Tigra. As I said, his 2nd win of the year, his 2nd win at Brands Hatch as well, but when he won back in the spring at Brands Hatch in race 1, he then failed to finish race 2. This time around he's had a much more consistent day though, with a 5th place finish in race 1 and now the race victory in the 2nd. So Steve Burrows with the race win then. 2nd place goes to Dave York, 3rd for Malcolm Blackman, who is back on the podium once again after a really successful season. 4th place goes the way of Danny Hunn, 5th Lewis Smith. Ray Harris claims 6th after Danny Smith's penalty. He drops from 5th on the road down to 7th after that 10-second penalty. Philip Spinks was 8th, 9th place Mark Robertson, and Pat Keeley, a disappointment there really, because he finished 3rd in race 1 but in the wet didn't seem at home, did he, and fell all the way down to 10th place. 11th place for the Mitsubishi Colt of Philip Young, and then it was Mark Stewart ahead of the 129 car of Hutchins, followed by Ayling, Taylor, Farrisman and Price, and the only non-finisher was the 491 car, which I did spot in the pit lane midway through the race, that being the Tigra of Colin Smith. Lewis Smith, by the way, set the fastest lap on the final lap as well. Didn't quite get into the 1 minute zeros. 1 minute 1.074 was still a very, very impressive lap time, but no one could quite match the impressive pace set by Steve Burrows, especially in the early stages of that race. And it was Steve who came home to take the race victory then in the final race of the season for the Avon Tyres Intermarque Silhouette Series. And he, hopefully along with Dave York and Malcolm Blackman, will be down in Parc Ferme very shortly to have a chat with Ian Waterhouse.
23 and 93, 23 and 93, the 6th row 77 and 18, 77.
This man a little bit earlier, didn't we, Steve? You got the job done this time. Well done. How does that feel?
Yeah, that's a nuts.
That's the nuts. I love that. Slightly different tyres, I see, but you just got away and you just held it then, didn't you? Clean air, nobody could touch you, really.
Got away, mate, and last few laps we backed up a bit just to try and keep it a bit safe. Yeah, great, brilliant, unbelievable.
Great way to finish the day, isn't it, for you? Fantastic. See, it means a lot. Well done, buddy. Let's go grab a quick word, actually. We'll grab a chat with Malcolm shortly. Let's go grab a quick chat with Dave York, who actually finished second place. Let's grab him. Dave, well done, buddy. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. You know, really good.
It looked like Steve just got away too much, just too much of a gap.
Yeah, I couldn't quite. I could see Malcolm in the mirror. Like, I was just trying to keep the gap.
And as ever, of course, you've got to hold Malcolm Blackman back. It's never easy, is it?
No, definitely not. But he was all right. It was a good race. Enjoyed it.
You got a big smile on your face. What does it mean to get on a podium, finish your season on a high?
Brilliant, mate. Yeah, brilliant. I've had a good year.
Fantastic. Well done. Fantastic stuff. Let's grab Malcolm again very quickly. He's always on the podium, isn't he, Malcolm? Steve, just too much this time.
Yeah, I'm going to have to slow them up, these two, aren't I? It's like, we look after both of these cars, me and my nephew, so they're all very, very similar.
Yeah.
So the three of them, but they went for new and I didn't, and I probably should have, but it's the end of the season, I weren't wasting tyres, so I'm happy with a third, that'll do me.
Fantastic, well done, great season, congratulations, mate. There we go, lovely.
Phil won the seniors.
Phil, here we are, Phil with the seniors.
Elderly.
Is that what we're going to call it? Yeah. What's it been like racing this season, Phil?
Oh, it's been quite good. We've been getting faster and faster as the season's gone on, so you know, we're happy where we are. So yeah, it's
good to get the classman as well, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah. Once you started to move up, you feel like you're getting somewhere at long last.
It was pretty treacherous out there, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite slippy. There was a couple of moments where I thought I'd overdone it, but just about held on. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Well done. Congratulations. There we go. That's actually it for the Silhouettes. They are finished for the season as well. Although I can tell you the next race, they're on track. So we're going to hand back to Andy. He's going to tell you what's coming up next.